Hello and welcome to Holy Men's online series with Mastermind Connect, which is a virtual circle led by Omar Davis using the tools of alchemy to find inner wisdom and build brotherhood. Holy Men is a space for men to come and talk about the real shit: life, work, relationships, family issues, or anything on your heart. In this space, we will open up the conversation to understand our perception, divine balance, our mind, our miracle body, inner wisdom, and the formations of sacred geometry. Welcome, Holy Men. Welcome, welcome. Hope everyone is well out there in the internet, wherever you are in this world. I hope that you are not only safe, but you feel like you are in a space of peace and comfort. Now, what a session that we had last week about, I love you, my brother, and us as men starting to shift our culture to I love you. But before we get into today's session, I just want to say big shout out to all of you who have been a part of this series. This Holy Men times Mastermind event has had some, we were all, we were trying to do our best to make sure that we can keep this thing going and keep it steady. And it really came down to, it's I just really care. Like I care, and I want to be here. I want to show up. I want all of you to have something that that I've been able to learn, and I just want to support my brothers in any way that I can, even if that is 30 minutes to an hour on Wednesdays. But I wanted to just really preference that everything that we as a collective at the Mastermind Connect have been doing. We got some real cool things going on. And for those of you who are joining, I'll let some people come in as it normally takes a couple of seconds. But for those of you who are joining, I just want to let you guys know that we're out here in these streets, and we're literally trying to help to not only build men but also young men. We have the Mastermind Initiative, the Young Mastermind Initiative, excuse me, that we have been working with, and it's a nonprofit where we're really just trying to engage with young youth and allow some of these inner city boys to travel and get outside and go camping and put their feet in the grass and be a part of nature, because they've never left and they've never been able to expose themselves to some of these things. And then when it comes to men, it's always, thank you, Cynthia, blessings. It's always, it's something that we must actually do. Individually, we must find some peace and heal as a man, but then we also must support our brothers, because we know that it's real out there in the streets. And if you're a man of color, then, it's challenging, because even going outside and seeing a cop car pass is hella nerve-wracking. And it's unfortunate that it's that way, but it's where we are. But with that said, let's get into the whole fact of today's session, which is why so hard, right? But then whenever we think about it, right, all these systems, all these things that have been in place for us to be hard. Well, let's just break this down. Like, I think that there are two sides of the coin. And the first coin is we pride ourselves in our strength because we are strong people. We've had to survive many, many things. And so that brings us to a space right now where we're even able to be strong, right? But the flip side of that is, or how long do we have to be strong, right? Like if we are always in this constant, taking on pressure, and compiling the pressure, it actually takes its toll. It can't always be so hard or so strong. Just not a thing. But I'll tell you what is a thing: hypertension. And hypertension is something that we as Black men, especially in the Black community, it hits males at a very high rate. Hypertension leads to heart failure, any types of heart disease, and can lead to things like diabetes too. But we all know that these are really, really, really strong in our culture. But that's because they were meant to be strong. We were meant to be in this position. And even for our women have to be hard too. Being a black woman in America is actually a very, very hard, it's probably the most difficult job or position to be in. Why? Because everyone's against you in a sense, like, or everyone's using you in a sense, right? Not say against, but what it comes down to is you're put down because you're a woman, and then you're secondly put down because of your skin tone. And then even within our culture, within the black community, we don't necessarily lift up our sisters like we should, our queens, I should say, right? We don't put them on a pedestal. We glorify music that literally puts them down. And we'll play that shit as loud as possible. Which is another issue, but that's not today's topic. So let's move into today's topic. And let's just break down this concept of being hard. Now, the reason we have toughness about us is literally because of slavery. I'm going to just put it out there. It's not going to be easy today, y'all. We're going to talk about some real. Now, it truly is because of slavery that we feel that we have to be hard. Not to say that we're not strong. It's a big difference. We are strong people by nature. But that's anybody who adapts under the conditions that we had to adapt to. Period. So that's what it comes down to, is that our toughness comes from hella oppression. Now let's break that down a little bit. When we talk about slavery, it's hard for some people to actually even sit in this conversation and say that our strength comes from slavery. Now, why so, you ask, Omar? Well, let's just be very frank and very open. Because we couldn't show emotions when we were getting our asses beat. That's why. You couldn't show any type of weakness, so to say, whenever someone was beating you. You couldn't cry. Like, what is that, right? Don't cry when I'm beating you to death. Like, what? But even more so, there's this really fucked up thing that happened, and it put us on a path. And they did us in a way that was absolutely terrible. It was violent. It was mean. It was wicked. And it was also shows me that the people who chose to live this life of us being inferior, what that really means is that they feel inferior. And the only way to feel good about themselves is they had to make us feel just as inferior as they naturally feel. Now, what am I really saying when I say that? Well, white people felt inferior to us for a long time. Not just, it was before America and shit. They just have. And let me just correct white people, because white people is an American thing. When it comes to Caucasians or pale skins, non-melanated humans, then they don't necessarily see themselves as white whenever you go to Greece or Germany. But the fact of the matter is based on the history of the Caucasian people, they have always had this inferior complex, even in their language. Even the language is a way of let's just what is it called? A figure of speech, right? This language that they use, it is not actually empowering. It's kind of confusing. Most languages are based on sounds and vibrations, not this one. And we speak this all day, right? We speak English right now. You're listening to me in English. And it's a very limited language. But let's move on. So what they did to us was, for one, through their inferiority, they felt that we needed to be even more inferior. So they did something to us that made us this way. And it's called breaking the horse. So when you break the horse, you show the mom and the child a way to emasculate, not show them a way, but you emasculate the father or the male in front of the wife, child, or female and child. And whenever you emasculate them, and whenever you actually beat them in front of their kids and family, the next step is for the woman to make sure that her child does not step out of line in order for that same situation doesn't happen to him. It's wicked, right? Super wicked. It's real shit though, because it is what happened. They taught our women and children to be away so that this doesn't happen to you. So naturally, the woman, the mom, does definitely not want that to happen to her child. So what does she teach the child now? Be submissive. Listen. Don't cry. Don't show no weakness. Don't let them see you cry, right? Because that's also another thing. Don't give them the gratitude of making you cry. So you hold it in and you take those whips. It's crazy talk. That's just what it happened, and that's how it played out. And don't get me wrong, there are other systems and things that definitely happened. But when it comes to the concept of breaking a horse, that is how they lead us into this concept of slavery and being submissive and being like in the sense of yes sir, no, that bullshit, right? So not only have they traumatized us and also our families, but then they put in systematic reminders like racism or like white only signs, like you ain't shit nigga type of signs, right? Or even in the public news, they would actually print local lynchings. What? Systematic things put in place to remind you that you ain't shit, that we're above you. But I just have to keep referring to this concept of making someone feel inferior means that you yourself feel powerless. So I have to circle back to that always. And so because these systematic things have been in place, because we've been traumatized, now it becomes a generational teaching. So over time, we become more and more submissive, more and more submissive, more and more submissive. And to the point where we did rally, right? The 50s, the 60s, the 70s, we did rally. We cooperated. That's a word that we don't use today in our culture. Black folks, people of color, even Latinos, cooperation. We just compete all the goddamn time, trying to be the hardest, the best, the strongest, the richest. Like that's what we do to each other. And we gloat. We actually make fun of our brothers and sisters because they may not have nothing. It's crazy talk. Now, the generational teachings come in many ways because it's embedded within the culture. It's embedded within the time in which we were actually, well, you experienced. Each culture has its own generational thing that was tagged on, tagged on, tagged on. Now, it sucks that we did rally in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. But then there was crack, right? How crack destroyed us. But we're not going to go there because that's also another conversation. But because of the systematic situation, we now see that today we still have some of these systems at play, right? I mean, everybody's obviously aware of it right now, right? And do I really have to point it out? We all know right now that the systems at play are not for us right now, no matter where you're looking, whether it's in the government, the police force, even in medicine, our food. Why can't you go to a black neighborhood and find an organic store? Like, why not? But why not? Why we got all the food with the ingredients that's hella crazy? Why you got 3,700 ingredients in your goddamn popcorn or something? Why you got stuff that's not supposed to be in stuff? Why you got food that's not food? But this is all in our neighborhoods, right? So we can't get food, we can't get insurance, we can't get medicines, we can't get no damn support and some safety from the police, and we can't get any government backing or any actual funding to help our neighborhoods, except for other stuff that only fits their agenda. Once again. Now, with this generational teaching, I don't think people are aware that even by us trying to excel in education is a part of adapting to their system. I know that hurts, right? Because we spent a lot of money on education. But let's be real. Going to school and getting a job, jobs, corporate America, was actually only made for white men. You guys didn't know that. It was. And so let's just think about this. If something that was only made for white men, right? And that's all you had in the industry was only white men until like laws got passed and it was like, oh, we should hire some people of color and we should definitely then maybe hire some women. Like, oh shit, we messed up. But see, what happens is now we are trying to fill the shoes of the way that we're supposed to be in corporate America, which was only made for white men. But are we white men? Oh no, I'm not. I mean, I got some heritage that, I just found out about from the French. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. Just found out about that. So I'm trying to embrace it, but I got some contingent with it. I ain't gonna front. But what it comes down to is that who the fuck is Massa? Like, who the fuck is this person that we're trying to like identify with? For instance, if you are a person of color and you speak, let's say, educated, right? There's this really weird cultural difference where now, because you speak educated, which I think that people should know how to enunciate for sure. But if you don't speak, like if you speak too educated, then suddenly you talk like a white boy, right? We have this in our culture where we say that, and then suddenly you ain't black, right? But blackness has nothing to do with how you talk, for one, because we're black all over the world and we speak all different languages. So that's stupid. But secondly, we have to understand that what they were trying to help us understand when we went into that direction is that we were assimilating to whiteness. That's all. Call it an educational degree if you want. But that's really what it is. Even at the black colleges. I want you to point to me a educated black person who identifies blackness without looking like or sounding like or putting on a tie and suit like a white man. Don't get me wrong, I love a tie and suit, but not to assimilate because it's fresh and I make that shit look good. And so do all my brothers at the Mastermind Connect. Y'all know what it is. But what it comes down to is that there is so much going on because of these systematic concepts that have been placed into our system. And then after slavery was actually abolished and you have stuff like systematic oppression, still, we had to be hard. We had to be hard. Can we understand that? We had to. We didn't have an option. We had to literally build up a thick skin, a thick mind. We had to callous some of our emotions just to push through because shit was hard. Shit was tough. Shit was not safe. It was hot. And nowhere you went, someone said that you was a beautiful person, like in the communities, right? In our community, clearly we speak to each other in this way, but we were never reflected back to how wonderful we are, how strong we are. But yet, look how they take all our stuff, right? Anything we do, we excel in. Does anyone know that most scientific discoveries that we use today, not most, but maybe half, were invented by black people? The X-ray, that's genius. You know what's the smartest thing? The stoplight, being able to flash. Black person. You know what else? The freezer in a truck. Black person. Now, how many trucks you see today having freezers in them because they need to ship stuff? The elevator door. Black person. How many of y'all love walking in the elevator and that shit open up and close on you without smashing you, right? Flying, I hear. Urela, that how you pronounce it? I'm gonna look that one up because shit, I don't deny it. I mean, if you really want to get ancient, the Egyptians definitely had aircraft that nobody want to talk about. They got hieroglyphs of the shit. I don't know, So yeah. But if you're talking about westernized flying, I'm gonna look that up. I love that. Um, but what it comes down to is, yeah, everything that we've ever done, it's golden. And now they use us for this resource, right? Look at that. Look at the world. Look at America. It's literally blackness, culture, written all over, just with a white stamp of approval. We're amazing. But let's go back to this concept of us being hard. The reason we had to be hard is because we had to be strong. I think that makes sense. But whenever it comes to having too much strength, sometimes we forget to let go. Now, this is something I had to deal with because this was something that my mom had taught me through her being a really strong woman of color. She is a proud Black woman who will definitely stand in the face of anything and face it. I've seen her lift shit that I'm like, how you lift that? I've seen her do so many things. She's pushed through. She moved us out of the projects, out of debt. She took me away from possibly dying at a very early age. And I watched her bust her ass to do so, no matter what it looked like, no matter what it seemed like. But the issue now is like, sometimes I'm like, oh, mama, you don't got to be so strong. You don't always got to be so tough. Like, sometimes maybe it's good to just cry a little bit, Shit was hard. When I looked at my mom's life and I saw what she been through, I ain't been through shit compared to what she been through. Part of me was like, yo, Ma, honestly, if I was you, I'd be crying every day. I'd be a motherfucking psychopath. Like, you went through some shit, but you still here, strong. And so what it comes down to is by being so strong, it means that we have to block off certain emotions, right? Like, even to this day, I can go to any hood and ask them what it means to be vulnerable, and they'll say two things: weakness or bitch. Good question. So let's go to we're seeing some really great comments in here, and I appreciate all the love. The AC, see Jamal, see what I'm saying, JD? Escalators. Then we invent everything. And then JD says, how do you turn it off, right? But this is how you turn it off. I'm glad you asked that. We just got to learn to understand that we have emotions. Like, we have emotions. It's the whole right side of your brain. Like, this side of your brain literally deals with emotions. It produces chemicals so that you can feel. And it's an intelligent system. That's like saying like this side of your brain work with math and science and shit, right? But that's like saying like fuck science and math and throwing that shit out the box, but then trying to do it, it's gonna be real hard, homie. That's just what it is. It's how your brain works. And so for all of you who have any questions or any comments in the chat, by all means, drop them in. We're willing to just really discuss this because I know that this is some real deep shit. And it's not always easy to talk about our past and some of the things that we've held on to in our culture. But it really comes down to that. The only way to stop being so strong all the time is to understand vulnerability. And vulnerability and courage go hand in hand. You cannot be vulnerable without being the first person to be courageous enough to step into vulnerability. And you cannot be courageous enough in order to first be vulnerable and put yourself out there. Simple as that. And so the way to turn it off is by tuning into how you feel and then labeling that shit, right? See, a lot of times that's the issue. We don't even have labels to the way we feel. So we just express it in the best way we know how, which usually ends up frustration, anger. So it's important to start labeling your feelings. Like, let me give you an example. I've been labeling my feelings for quite some time. I started practicing what is called nonviolent communication, what we like to call compassionate communication. And whenever I started practicing this, what it made me do, it made me identify with how I felt in a given situation. But it also made me see, like, what is it that's triggering me? What is it that's really making me feel this way? And is it the person, or is it actually me that already had the feeling inside of me that just what they said triggered me into feeling a certain way? So I had to start identifying, like, yo, oh, you feel let down because you were hoping that your family was going to at least listen to you, or you were hoping that, you know, your brother was going to, you know, respect your boundaries, right? And so labeling that shit is vital because it gives us a language to how to even express it. So another example is, for instance, last week, I had a very, very crazy week last week. And I was feeling all types of anxious, all types of knots in my stomach. And it wasn't that I was out of control. I just had so much going on that I wasn't focusing on, oh, so it took me a second, like it took me Thursday going into Friday where I was like, yo, dude, you feel unsafe. You feel overwhelmed. And then I started changing to I feel, because at first I was having self-talk, but then I'm labeling it. Like, you know what? I feel like I need a break. I feel like I'm doing so much and there's no time for me to even just think. I feel like that my son didn't actually respect me every time I was trying to tell him to help me, and he just kept doing something else. And I had to then get aggressive or loud in order for him to react. I felt that I'm not listened to sometimes. So I had to go through these emotions. And it wasn't easy because a part of me was like, oh, fuck this shit, you don't feel that way. But at the same time, I'm like, nah, homie, that's how I feel. And so the next step is, now what, right? So in that point, Pooh Cussles, he said the guitar, that's what I'm turning off. Turn it off by playing the guitar. That's what's up. That's a really great thing too. If you can find a way to channel your feelings into something, a prayer, a hobby, a love, journaling, you know, that's always a good way. There are many ways to get feelings out, to turn off the I want to be hard all the time. There are many, many ways. But the way that's going to be right for you, you already know it. You already know it. You just got to search. You just got to go in. You just got to go way inside that chest of yours, that heart. And you got to start processing. You remember them things you used to love to do as a kid? It's those things that you can channel your energy into in order to release some of the tension of always being hard, because we have to start changing the way we think about ourselves. We don't have to be hard no more. We can't be hard no more. We can't always hold on to this stress and tension because it literally causes hypertension. Hypertension is hyper, too much, tension, stress, too much stress. And then it leads to heart disease, which is literally the number one cause of black men dying. Like, look it up, please. Let it blow your mind. Have an epiphany if not. Now, the issue is that now to actually get into the last segment of this, the issue that we have these days is that we are all in this paradigm of thinking this way. And so it kind of fuels each other, where the women are now looking for a man that's going to live up to this hardness and be a real ass nigga in the streets and do all this and do all that. And so now the woman is looking for that, but the man is trying to be that when that thing really don't exist. So that's weird. Let's read Jamal's comment. Sorry, I called his name. We go by JD, but he got Jamal down here because he, professional. The mind only knows the past. The body only knows the presence. Man, only the spirit knows the future. Right? Right? And so that's another thing, right? We're caught in these duality moments where we're trying to keep up the identity of our past through the way that we were taught But we now know the way we were taught is not necessarily beneficial to us. Because we, as people of color, we get divided when we are trying to live up this concept of being the hardest and the strongest, because we start isolating ourselves. We start literally having cultural norms where we're competing with each other on all levels. And because of that breaking the horse, because of that massa mentality, because of that, you got into the house, you a house nigga versus a field nigga. Like, these things play a really, really subconscious role on our behaviors today. And it divides us. It makes us compete with each other. Like, why you get to get into the house and I don't? Do you know that's where that comes from? This competition. I was talking to a brother today here in Corpus, and he was saying to me that it breaks my heart whenever I go out and I try to do things with my people, because they treat me worse than the white man will when I'm trying to do business with them. And I'm like, damn, that sucks. He was like, but that's the problem. That's the problem. Like, we don't even treat each other nice. We don't even treat each other with honor. Understand, going back to the inferiority comment that I made, the white man felt inferior, so therefore had to project inferiority onto us in order to make him feel as if he's superior. Right? Get how that works? But now us in our culture, we are now doing the same thing. Where we don't help each other. We don't support each other. We are now literally within maybe the past 3 years. I mean, I know me and my brothers have been working real hard to support our Black communities. But ever since COVID and racial injustice of George Floyd, now everybody's jumping on a support Black businesses bandwagon. But I still see Black people not treating Black people fairly in this concept. And this is what we need to change. We need to change the way we treat each other. But that starts with yourself. Period. We cannot ask anyone to fix our community if we're not willing to fix ourselves, who's in the community, and then share with our community the tools and skills that we have learned. It always comes back to the self, right? It always comes back to the fact that you are the master of your universe. Yes, we have these cultural things and these positions and these mindsets and these systems that are constantly telling us what we are and what we are not. But in order for us to fix our community 1000%, it first starts with the way we treat ourselves. And then we have to start treating our community as such. Now, the point that we need there is to understand that we all have work to do. We all have work to do. And understand that not all of our brothers and sisters are going to be on the same page. Not everybody's going to be like, yeah, I want to know about what it is to work with myself. Like, I ain't going to front. There's only a specific few people in my family that I can go to and speak about these things. And they're going to be like, yo, you talking about something. So I'm going to be like, shut the fuck up. And that's cool. But with that said, I want to leave on that note. It all starts with the self. And in order for us to fix our community, we must love ourselves. And then we must then spread that love like the BK way. You know, that's how we do. It's the Brooklyn way. Spread love. But with that said, I hope that this talk stimulates or sparks possibly a conversation with someone that you know or someone that's in the community, maybe even an ally, right? Or maybe somebody who hates people of color, right? Excuse me. But I hope that we can continue thinking about these things and understanding that, you know what, we don't actually need to be as hard as we've been shown in our past. What we need to do is be more compassionate with each other, be more empathetic towards each other. And from there, all is up. But with that said, a little homework. I want each and every one of you go out and ask somebody in your community, why is it that you think that we always so hard? Why is it that you think we always have to be so strong? And I want you to see what they say and just digest it. Don't have a rebuttal, just ask the question and let them talk. With that said, much love to all of y'all. Thank you everybody to join. All of you up in the room. We got some shout outs. We got Orson. We got Uriela. I love that name, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. We got JD. We got Pook Hustle. We got Cynthia up in the spot. All these wonderful comments. I thank you so much for being a part of this, and I hope it was able to expand you a little bit more, or at least to get you to ask more questions, right? That's all it's about. The individual search to one's freedom and peace. I'd like to thank my brother Manny Almonte in the background doing all the beautifulness. My name is Omar Davis. You can catch Mastermind Connect on IG, Facebook, and YouTube. You can catch Holy Men on IG. And me, Omar Davis, you can catch me from any of these links. But what it comes down to is I'm always here to support. Any DMs you need to ask me some questions. Maybe you didn't like something I said. Let me know. I'm not going to argue with you about it. We'll discuss it. But with that said, I just want to thank all of you once again. This has been a beautiful segment, and I'm glad that we were able to even just bring this up for the ethos of the internet to then come look at in the future, right? Once again, Mastermind Connect, Holy Men. See you next week. Peace out.